Lazzara. Welcome back, Alan.
Good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Hot.
Yeah, same.
Have you seen some heat exhaustion come through the doors?
We have. I worked the last, I think, 4 or 5 days in a row, and so there was a lot of people there that had many varied medical problems, but I think all of them had an overlay of I'm too hot.
Yeah.
You know, I saw people who were having strokes, and it was happening when they were doing an athletic event, or somebody was just feeling nauseated, and it was because they lived in a place that didn't have air conditioning. So it was, it touches a lot of people.
Is that what you wrote on the chart? Very many medical problems.
Varying.
Usually self-explanatory.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
They got a copy of your chart, Bert. A lot of people are outside this time of year, walking around,
Sure.
on vacation, new places. They're gonna maybe run into some plants that are poisonous.
Yes, yeah. So this is an issue near and dear to my heart because my wife, unfortunately, is very allergic to poison ivy,
Okay.
and so but she never had it as a child, so now she has it as an adult. So.
Because of the activities you're taking her on.
Yeah, we're outside. We've gotten it gardening mainly. So,
Okay.
but yeah, you're right. We do see a lot of people, especially at our urgent cares, come in with this very well-known rash that a lot of people get exposed to.
Is that it?
And it can be, that's a bad case of image I found online. But yeah, the rash, which is unusual, and it can be very bad around the face. We see a lot of rashes around the face, or even mosquito bites around kids' eyes, and the eyes themselves it can be very sensitive, and they'll swell very quickly.
This is poison ivy, Doc?
Poison ivy, yeah. So it looks bad, obviously, but the rash, which is interesting, doesn't happen right away. So typically there's a delayed response because it's an allergic reaction. It's a delayed hypersensitivity, and so if you've never been exposed to it, it can happen days or weeks afterwards.
Really?
But if you've been exposed, usually it's a couple, like 2 or 3 days before you start having that rash.
Really?
Usually it's linear. You can see kind of streaky. You get these vesicles, these little fluid-filled bumps, and obviously it's red and intensely itchy.
When I was a kid, you used to hear poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac.
Sure.
In that order of danger. Is there any accuracy to that?
Actually, not that I'm aware of, but they're all part of the same family. They're all part of the cashew family, and they all have the same compound that irritates the skin, and it's called urushiol, or I say urushiol. It's hard to say. It's a Japanese word for the word lacquer, and they used to break up the plant and take the sap and paint things on important buildings. So if you touch that piece of gilded equipment or statue, something that was covered in gold or whatever, and then you'd get this rash. You'd be literally caught red-handed when you were walking around. Yeah.
Amazing. And
I read that. I wasn't there.
I
I don't know, but
Listen.
that's a really good story if somebody told it online. But,
I really like that.
but I've heard that before. But the compound I know is called urushiol, and it's a odorless, colorless oil that's found in the plant, typically in the leaves or stems. When they're broken, it gets on your skin, or it can get on anything like tires or your clothes or your dog. And that's how people get exposed kind of indirectly. And it can be just as bad as if you were like rubbing the plant itself on you. And the bad part, and this stinks, is that it can be on your shoes, it can be on your clothes that you then say put away, and then go back a week later and then get re-exposed.
Wow,
So it's how
I had
people-
no idea.
Yeah, so that's how people get this like persistent rash. Like, why is it? People think it's spreading from the rash itself, but the rash itself does not spread. It's the oil that you say you got on your arms, and then you touch your face, and then you touch other places, and then it looks like it's spreading because it's kind of delaying in its appearance. But so if you get exposed to poison ivy, make sure you wash all your clothes. And there's a bunch of home remedies that you can use. The one that I probably would suggest people avoid is putting bleach on your skin. That's not a good one. You get an irritant dermatitis as well as the poison ivy allergic dermatitis. But the Dawn dish soap thing is good because it helps emulsify, or probably any dish soap. It helps emulsify the oil off your skin, so it surrounds it in the soap bubbles, and it gets flushed down the drain. So, like a lot of things being outside, if you're out gardening or you think you've been exposed, showering afterwards is a really good idea.
Have you ever been at the grocery store and someone was like, "Hey, Doc, Come check this rash out I got.
No, plenty of parties though.
I bet.
I'm fine with that. That's okay. I usually like to ask them something very personal afterwards
Sure,
as well, just as an
absolutely.
exchange. Of,
Yeah.
Like, I do like to ask dentists how often they floss though, because I don't think every day is the norm for all dentists.
That is a good question.
Most of them say every 2 to 3 days
Really?
that I've asked. It's an informal survey.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think they recommend to everybody every day.
Recommend every
right?
day.
So those things, like the pink liquid, camo, whatever.
Calamine lotion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So,
works.
so treatment. So there's the topical treatments and there's a systemic treatment. So when somebody gets exposed, there's things you can do at home, things you can do over the counter. Certainly decontaminating yourself. So using the shower soap or dish soap, whatever, to get the oil off. Washing your clothes, and then the topical stuff. Antihistamines don't really work very well. You can try them, but typically it's topical steroids. So. Lower doses for areas on the face, higher doses for areas where thicker skin, like your arms and legs. You don't want to be putting steroid creams on your face for any length of time because it can thin your skin. But so the topical steroids you can do 3 to 4 times a day, and then when it's all over or it's in sensitive areas like your face, or sometimes we see it below the belt line, we will give oral steroids, and that is typically a long course. It's 14 to 21 days of a taper. Wow. So we'll start higher and go lower. If you do only like a 5-day course, people get a rebound reaction. So it goes away for a couple days and then it blooms again. And it's not, and again, it's because of the immune system gets beat back and then it gets the gas pedal again. So
Isn't it funny when you hear, maybe not for you, Doc, because you see it all the time, but when you hear that someone's got poison ivy, you're like, that's weird.
Everybody thinks it's contagious, but the rash itself is not contagious. So, but if they were wearing the same clothes, that for instance, they had like a pair of overalls that they always wear when they garden, and then they try and give you a hug, probably don't let them hug you. But the rash itself is not contagious.
That is good to know.
Yeah.
For those parents treating the rash, of course, with their kids.
Well, those pictures of the leaves, I couldn't identify them. I just saw the three poisons. I could go out in the woods right now and I would not be able to point them out.
Same.
I think they all look the same. All leaves.
Well, now that I'm looking at that poison ivy.
So they go through different phases. So poison ivy, it's light green in the spring, darker in the summer, and then in the fall it turns that kind of red color. It typically will grow in a vine-like structure, and they'll have white or green berries on them. The white berries are in the fall, and then they have a fuzzy underside to them. And that's the old adage of leaves of 3, let them be. So yeah, I would have a hard time. I'm usually not.
Remember that. I haven't heard that before, but
Yeah.
Had you heard that? Leaves of 3, let them be.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Really?
It's really. I mean, it's hard because when you're walking around, I mean, you're not poison ivy / morel mushroom hunting every time you walk around outside, but it's probably just better protocol to shower after you've been outside.
I think that's safe.
Yeah.
Well, people like you that forage, you're more susceptible.
I haven't foraged in a while. I haven't had time to do morel hunting. But,
Did this kill people back in the day?
I don't think. No. I don't know because I wasn't there, but I think people used to have a term for. I mean, biblically, right? We would think of all these rashes as somebody having leprosy, right?
Yeah.
There was all these different kind of rashes we couldn't explain, and so a leper could be somebody who had a bad form of skin cancer, to somebody who had a rash that just wouldn't go away, somebody who had eczema, to an allergic reaction. We don't know. I mean, who knows what physicians thought back then? But it certainly is unpleasant back then. It's unpleasant now. So.
All right, well, be aware, be careful. So last time you were here, we were afraid of ticks. Hot weather, and now the poison. Just stay home.
You can go outside. Just make sure the hot weather tips I think are appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Stay hydrated, cool off, avoid the heat of the day, dress appropriately, and find a cooling center if you don't have AC. So we see a lot of people who unfortunately don't have the means to have air conditioning, and so we'd recommend visiting a cooling center during the hot part of the day. And this affects a lot of people because they're on a bunch of meds. They have a lot of medical problems, and the heat is not your friend when it's this hot outside, especially when it's this humid, too.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to use one of those ice bags to cool someone down?
Yeah, we have a lot of different ways. I don't know how much time we have left, but we have a lot of different ways. So when somebody comes in and they're super hot, we can use a cooling blanket that forces cold air on top of them. One of the methods I like the most, which is kind of what the military will use, they use ice baths and dunk people in an ice bath like you'd see at a marathon. So they'll dunk, because these guys operate in very, very hot environments. We don't have an ice bath, but instead we take ice-soaked sheets and then put fans on the patient. You can do that too.
Okay.
It's a little messy and wet, but it's a life-threatening emergency when somebody comes in and they're confused because their temperature is 104. But typically we just use the cooling blanket.
Cool. Well, stay cool out there. And if you have any questions, all the answers are available on Henry Ford's website for sure. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
More
Thanks.
of the show right after
Yeah.
this.